Welcome to Purposely Peaceful. I'm your host, Jessica Rivera, a licensed marriage and family therapist and a quantum hypnosis practitioner. This podcast is where real life meets inner peace. You'll get honest conversations, practical tools, and soulful guidance to help you live with more clarity, calm, and purpose. Let's dive in. The journey to inner peace starts with self-love. In this episode, we'll explore how true peace is rooted in loving yourself fully. It's not just about avoiding stress or solving problems. It's about nurturing the relationship you have with yourself. My hope is that this episode will inspire you to embrace self-love as the foundation of lasting peace and healing. One of the biggest dilemmas of the heart is self-love. The ability to love yourself for who you are has been such an area of tension for many of my clients. Heck, I've struggled here too, and perhaps I still am. In previous episodes, I've mentioned that this podcast is for the people on the pursuit of inner peace. But I've also said that it is also for every single person intentionally trying to be the best version of themselves. In truth, it is the journey of loving yourself so much that you would do what is best for you. For some, that might be a wild concept. The way that I see it, it's so much deeper than just being your best self. And for a lot of people, they get stuck here. Why? They don't like how they look or how they act or how they show up in the world. So many people get so fixated on how their body looks, how their hair looks, how their outfit looks, their makeup, the car they drive, the house they live in, the apartment they live in. They spend a lot of mental and emotional energy worrying about appearances, the way that they might be perceived, or if they do something goofy, what other people are going to think. So many people are fixated on trying to love your physical self, which is valid and it is part of this process. But to me, that's only surface level. So you spend all this time beating yourself up trying to love something on the surface, when in truth, it's so much more deeper than that. A lot of times I see self-love feeling like such a foreign concept. Like, yeah, the concept sounds nice. I guess I believe it. But they fail to see the connections happening all around them. And the hardest part for some, by no fault of their own, is that they are simply unaware in all the ways that they self-sabotage themselves on this part of the journey to inner peace. And when we're not loving ourselves as we are, we block ourselves from getting there by the actions and the beliefs that we're not quite sure how to manage in the first place. So let me share with you what it looks like to block or self-sabotage ourselves. Remember, life is full of choices, and when we're not in a state of love, we choose the unhealthy options of foods, of relationships, and sometimes we go as far and put ourselves in unsafe situations emotionally and physically. So let me give you one example, my relationship with soda. And at first it was Coca-Cola, and right now it is Dr. Pepper. It sounds silly, but bear with me. Growing up, it's not like I knew that soda was unhealthy. It was there. That is what we drank. It was very easy for me to say, I want one, and I went and got one. And so it was very much a part of my life, especially when I went to college. So if you've ever worked with me, went to college with me, or have been around me in general, you and I both know that I have a problem. Whether I like to admit it or not, a huge part of my coping mechanisms to manage and to self-soothe. So basically, all that to say is that soda has been a constant across my life. And so this is one of the ways where I make unloving choices, because there was a point where I recognized the ingredients were not healthy. It was not supporting my health in any way. It was also a dysfunctional coping mechanism. So that's one example. My other example is staying up late to have alone time or to hang out with my husband. Look, the soda or staying up late, neither is terribly bad, but neither support what I need. In my case, my health is important. I have a history of becoming extremely fatigued, so much so that it takes weeks or months to recover based on how bad it hits me. A loving choice would have been water or homemade lemonade. Why? Because it's less processed. But no, you'll see me with a soda at any restaurant, family party, gathering, any long drive. And if it's not soda, it's going to be my decaf coffee with tons of creamer. Some part of me says, oh, it's decaf, so it's better. That's not really true. Coffee and soda are acidic and loaded with sugar and all kinds of stuff. Personally, for me, there's nothing truly healthy or loving about it. It pains me to share this publicly. Hopefully, me sharing this gives me more accountability to my truths and where I still struggle. And oh, do I love staying up late. My time at night has been the place of my much needed me time. This is where I could spend my time with myself and actually hear my own thoughts. The night hours are how I managed to complete my undergrad and graduate programs. Those sleepless nights were part of how I figured out how to do anything. My husband and I have always had children. We didn't get to date with a whole lot of freedom because we had kids going into the relationship. Our time together at the end of the day is our time with each other. And with the podcast and his pursuit to peace, our time has become more limited. And it's not forever. We're just a little busier than usual right now. These are two of the many areas in my life I'm actively trying to manage. And again, although neither are bad per se, they don't support the most loving decisions either. My health, very important to living a meaningful quality life. My sleep is essential to being rested, patient, and provide me with the mental awareness and strength that I need to do the kind of work that I do. And if I'm not getting enough sleep, my body suffers, my mind suffers, and on and on. And it negatively impacts my family. I'm taking responsibility for it every day. I have to reason with myself about how I want to spend my time. This question, which I've shared already on a few episodes, is what is the most loving thing I can do? Do I always make the best choice? Absolutely not. But that's the point of progress, isn't it? That we can revisit and choose differently next time. So, what are some unloving choices? Well, the scope of what we can cover is huge. I would need a lifetime to get through it all in detail, but I won't do that here. Here's what it can look like. The day was stressful, so instead of real relaxation, you drink some beer or alcohol instead. Instead of saying no, you say yes out of obligation or guilt. Instead of water, you drink soda. Instead of a home cooked meal, you pick up fast food. And I still do this, but again, it's about making choices over time. They all don't have to be perfect. You just have to have a destination. Okay, let me continue. You do your makeup and you still feel less than. You look for external compliments and validation instead of validating and complimenting yourself. Instead of loving yourself for who you are, you just nitpick and criticize yourself. Instead of loving your body as it is, you focus on what you don't like. You beat yourself up about this or that or whatever. You find yourself being judgmental of yourself and others. All of these examples are what being unloving toward yourself looks like. And of course, I can cover so much more, but for the sake of one episode, we'll keep it here. So how do we begin to change this unloving behavior? You need to be able to catch yourself, to have enough awareness that you've even gone down that path in the first place. Ask yourself, what emotions in you is triggering that belief or that thought? If it's a belief in fear, self-loathing, anxiety, jealousy, and it's okay. A triggered emotion isn't the definition of who you are as a person. It's just showing you that there's room to grow. Give yourself permission to forgive that thought. And if you can't, transform that thought into a more loving belief. Thoughts are choices. I think we as human beings are so consumed by life, by busyness, by keeping up with the Joneses that we forget the little things in life. Not because we don't want to, but because we can only do so much. I had a perspective shift when I read the first book by Anthony Williams. And it's primarily about health, but I love the way that he discusses how hard your body works for you. I'm paraphrasing here, but he says every single cell in your body is highly intelligent and has a job to do to keep you alive. That your cells and every part of your body, its primary goal is to keep you alive and functioning for as long as possible. But with standard American diets, we're eating so much processed food that our cells are trying to get every bit of vitamins they can get. He says the body works 24/7 even while you sleep to keep you alive. I think of this often, especially when I know I haven't been eating healthy, that our bodies are tirelessly fighting for us without us ever saying thank you for its hard work. And we don't say thank you for trying to fight for us with little to no help from us. I don't know about you, but that gets me all messed up because it's true. There's some days that pass by and I'm like, I haven't eaten a single fruit today. I only had some vegetables at dinner. And on road trips, I'm getting a tomato and lettuce from a hamburger. And sure, yeah, we get a little bit of protein. But personally, my body thrives on a more plant-based diet. I wish it wasn't this way, but it is. So this brings me back to my love of sugar, coffee, and soda. There are many times when I know what I really want, sugar. But I know the most loving thing I can do is to choose water or tea. Do I make that choice every time? No, but I'm okay with having to learn this process of loving myself enough to make better choices over time. That I can't have everything I want if it impacts my life negatively. They say life is short, but I don't know about you, mine feels like it's been kinda long. So I better live for myself because the ripple effect of my choices could be more happiness, more freedom, better health, and a longer life. Who doesn't want that? I don't know where you are on your journey, but the path to becoming purposely peaceful is a constant practice. As you gently challenge yourself, it becomes more and more part of who you are. True peace comes from loving yourself so deeply that your physical body feels like a bonus, like a cherry on top. Your body is such a beautiful gift that gives you life. So why not take the time to learn how to work with it? Let me share this. I would say I'm at the point in my life where I'm probably around 75% peaceful most of the time. Obviously, I can't really measure it, but I feel that this is where I'm at. The remaining 25% are normal stressors of mild anxieties, sometimes anger and frustration, and just the good old pressures of life. Again, I'm by no means perfect, but I'm intentional. The more that I have continued to do this inner work on myself, the better I feel, the more obvious it is when I'm feeling down or irritated. So obvious that I don't like how I feel that I try to figure out what knocked me off course. This is where journaling helps me figure out what my problem or issues are at the moment. Like in episode 4, I need to feel to heal. I need to acknowledge how I feel, briefly process it, and release what no longer needs to be carried. The more that you do the inner work, the better that you feel. And indeed, it becomes your very nature. Part of this path is that I do not want to have any inner conflict that is draining my energy, my personal power. And this means that the more aligned choices I make, the more that I am in alignment with being loving to myself. So loving that I can say, I love myself. I love who I am. I love the version I was 10 years ago. I even love the hot mess I was 20 years ago. I love that my higher self or my subconscious, whatever you want to call it, has put certain challenges and hardships in my life so that I had the chance to overcome them. From my professional experience, that is in fact what life is doing. I believe that we are loving beings, but different life experiences happen. We have different personalities and even have past lives influencing how this journey will look for each of us. There is so much anger and hatred in the world. Anger and hatred are, in fact, the absence of love. We can learn from these emotions, but we cannot experience love with these emotions. If you have this feeling towards others, anger, hatred, jealousy, any of those negative emotions, then you must have them towards yourself somewhere. For some, the greatest lessons in life will be when they overcome anger, hatred, jealousy, betrayal, hopelessness, all the challenging emotions. When we point fingers, feel like victims, or like the world is out to get us, we are off course. Take a stand to be vastly different in your approach, and maybe you'll start to experience a whole new world of infinite potential, love, and hope. There are so many ways we can self-sabotage. Self-sabotage is all about the choices we make. We can choose what enhances the love that we are, or we can stray off the beaten path, getting smacked by branches, losing our way, falling flat on our faces, and then be like, oh, there's another way? There is always another way. It is my belief that every single human being on earth is here for the sole purpose to love and be loved. Think about the amount of personal growth you would have if you would love and value someone with the opposite beliefs as you. How did we get to a place where we believe it's okay to hate people? In truth, no one is better or worse, but that's a whole other subject and best for a different episode. One of my favorite children's book is called The Little Soul in the Sun by Neil Donald Walsh. It tells a story about how our souls know how life will unfold before we are born. I remember one time when I was reading it to my daughter, and I guess I was having a rough day, or I just really needed to hear these words because it moved me to tears. I think this would also make a wonderful adult children's book. The book shares that the soul only knows love because that is the essence of who we are. However, once we come into this life, we forget. We forget where we come from, the truth of our essence. And sometimes the people who have hurt us or trigger us are only here for our growth. We forget on purpose so that life can create challenging situations. And the goal is to remember who we truly are, love. The book features beautiful illustrations, and it serves as a reminder that we're all connected and here for the collective growth of humanity. And everything that I have seen and witnessed through quantum hypnosis sessions supports this claim. We are here to learn, to overcome, to heal, and to ultimately find peace here on earth. Don't just wait for heaven because you're still going to be here a while. So why not make the most of it? Perhaps this wasn't the perspective you thought I would take on this episode of self-love and inner peace. But love isn't only a romantic love or motherly love. It's a love so deep that it only makes sense to give into it. By doing so, we create more acceptance, gratitude, peace, and a much more loving existence. The more loving we become with ourselves, the healthier, more loving people we will attract into our orbit. I remember one of the things that I said on one of my first presentations in my graduate program. I said something about why I chose to be a marriage and family therapist. It was because I wanted to contribute to the world in a positive way, even if it was one session or one person at a time, because it contributes to the ripple effect that inevitably, no matter how small, also impacts the world. So I'll leave you with some questions to think about. What would your life look like if you operated from a place of love? What would the world look like if we truly operated out of love? Remember, the journey of peace truly is an act of self-love. Thanks so much for listening. Thanks for spending a little time with me today. I hope something here met you right where you are. This podcast is for inspiration only and not a substitute for therapy. Please reach out to a licensed professional if you need support. I'll catch you on the next one.